Hello, welcome to Laura's Painted Minis. I am Laura, and tonight we're gonna start getting to work on the grass, sculpted grass that's on this. I'm gonna paint it kind of like moss. We'll see if that ends up working out. It is technically a little bit on the thick side for what moss can be, and not quite exactly sculpted, but correctly. But I'm gonna give it a try and work against it. I've got one of my other pieces as well, just in case this is needing to dry and put another layer on it or whatnot. I can at least keep working on something. And I did finish up the stone on this one. Did that like earlier this morning. We actually have a cat tonight. Thursday streams have a tendency to not have a cat in camera, because the other cat is quite often staying out with my husband, and the cat that you can see, she quite often likes to sit on my chair instead. That's my other chair behind me, which she was going to sit there again tonight, and then I coaxed her into getting onto the cat tree. And by coaxing, I mean I picked her up and put her on the cat tree and gave her some little scritches. It doesn't always work. Sometimes she'll still just get up and leave and do her own thing because she's a cat. She is usually at least in the room with me. She follows me around kind of like a puppy dog, so even if you can't see her on screen, she probably is nearby. So I am using Reaper's Jungle Moss. So very on point there with the name and my use of it. I actually use this as a base coat for the scales on that serpent. I'm trying to think, I don't think I got that on. I don't think I did any of the base coating of that on stream. I did the priming. And since this is a base coat and it's over primer, I am doing kind of heavy. So if I do need a second layer, probably won't be tonight. So it's still fairly humid. It's probably not gonna get dry here in the next hour. But that's why I just grabbed one of the other pieces that I haven't yet started other than priming. And we can at least continue on with other pieces and base coating the moss. That is probably all we will do tonight. But feel free to jump on and chat. You can say hi. If you went to ReaperCon, you can I would love to hear about your experiences. What you got to do, whatnot. I know they offer a lot of awesome classes and stuff. And I really want to make I want to make it to it at least once. I also want to do D&D in the castle, which is even more expensive than a trip to ReaperCon. So, thus, going to ReaperCon is probably only going to happen once. Not even sure if D&D in the castle will end up happening. They do seem like they're doing pretty well and like they're gonna last for a while, but it is expensive. From what I hear, it's worth it, but it is expensive. It would be a fun fate. I feel like if we are able to do it, it'll probably be something like maybe my husband and I do after our son is out of the house. I've already got some plans for some one-shots I could do next year at our church's annual tabletop thing. Just thinking and about the big box of minis I'll get someday, any day now, from the Reaper Bone 6. I got just about everything, so and I don't know how. I haven't heard officially how they're pulling, if it's just randomly, if like a computer is just pulling them randomly, or if they're starting with smaller orders. If any of you know officially, that'd be awesome to hear. I mean, either way, I'm just waiting. I know a lot of other people are like complaining about not having it yet and it's way behind schedule. But I mean, I know Reaper's good for it. They're not gonna like be like, yes, it's behind, it was out of their control, just things going on in the world caused shipping delays for them. I mean, there's been shipping delays in general for things that are coming overseas. So it it's understandable of what happened and obviously completely out of their control. But they're not a new company. Like this is a Kickstarter where they've been doing this for a while. They don't need Kickstarter to keep afloat and make these minis. It's just a way for people to still support them and get minis before they hit retail. It's like basically more like an extra income stream in a way for them. That's kind of how I'd see it. It can be seen as for them, because yeah, I think they could do just fine um, without the Kickstarters. It probably helps make it redoing some so they do remasters from what I understand. Can't tell if that's Moss or not. For some things, and then there's uh, all new settings or expansions they're adding in or will eventually add in. So I imagine Kickstarter is a way for them to kind of get that going quicker, sooner than later. I don't know that for sure. That's just my guess. But it is understandable. I mean, like, I think that's something with Kickstarter that people have forgotten is that there's always a risk that you won't get whatever it is they promise. That's at the bottom of every single Kickstarter page. The newer or smaller the company it is, I would say the bigger the risk because it's all the more likely that they're relying on that Kickstarter providing them enough money to literally kickstart their business. Um, um, and sometimes that doesn't work out for some businesses because their analysis of what they needed was inaccurate. Things out of their control happened that added to costs or demands, etc. I actually recently, I think it was just a few weeks ago, got an email from or an update on a Kickstarter that I had backed a few years ago, and that they stated that they were going bankrupt, and would not be able to fulfill the rewards. And that was one where they thought they were taking advantage of a research grant, and as well as many other companies in that region apparently also thought they were getting a research grant. I mean, basically they had run out of money before that, and so the Kickstarter wasn't enough. Which there was a point where they weren't really communicating very much, like over a year ago, and so I kind of had already counted it as a loss, and then suddenly a year ago they started actually sending out updates, and they had a Discord server. And actually, they had actually released a product for early access for those that paid for it. So it seemed like it actually was starting to get on track, and I was like, oh, cool, maybe this won't be a loss. But then things happened. Oh well, like I said, I had kind of already considered it a loss. I've got like the entire set, Elven Woods set of this, so we will have plenty to just keep on base coating tonight. I know that's not exciting, but hey, that's what I'm doing tonight. Ooh, it was really cool. I got an email about the Daggerheart and that they're entering into like a closed beta or beta. I don't know if that's the right closed. I think they called it a closed playtest, but it kind of seemed more like you were just gonna be given their player handbook, so to speak, as it stands, and then you'd have to fill out a NDA contract and whatnot and give feedback on stuff, which is cool. I think it's just because I had filled out, I'm guessing it's just because I had filled out a survey, and they're using that to try and get as many readers as possible. I don't know how else they would figure that out. I don't think I'm that big of a Twitch streamer that would be the reason. I did not sign up for it though, because I'm a slow reader, and me thinking through how rules would work, or whether or not they would work, like if there's things that I would see, like being able to see things, or like and think of scenarios that whether or not I would basically break the game or something. That's not something I feel I have enough experience with. Now, if you want me to edit wording of things, that I can help with, but that's not what it sounded like they were wanting. I'm also a slow reader, so it would take me forever. I would not get it all done if they want it done within the next couple months. I don't know. Maybe I'll reread the email and see like if they just want, if they're willing to get feedback on wording. The closest I've gotten to even like somewhat thinking about that is I made some tweaks to, what was it that I did? I made tweaks to the, trying to think if it was the general rules or the actual stories, but for betrayal on a house, betrayal at the house on the hill, betrayal. Specifically to work with bigger groups was what I was doing, because I was in college when I got into it, and a lot of my other friends were getting into it. And there was a big group of us, bigger than 6. And also just in general, other than like the silly party games like Quelf or Trivial Pursuit. Or whatever. I'm sure I'm not. Code names or something. You know, there's not very many things made for big groups. So I kind of delved into how that would work and tweaked, kind of added in some extra rules of how some things would play out with a bigger group. We got to try my rules twice. We play tested them, and it worked out. I think they worked out pretty well. There was a little bit more tweaking that needed to be done, but now I don't have the big group that I had, so the main thing being that I just needed to make sure, because I had it so basically there's a hair or something. I'm gonna brush hair. I had it so that basically with the bigger groups, you were having more traders, and they'd get to work together, but then you'd spread them out. I think, yeah. I forget how I spread them out. If there was a specific ruling that I made for that, or if it was just like kind of purposely making them sit like more evenly dispersed. Might have had it so that like it sat where there was every 6 players or something, there'd be a traitor. Or but then again, if you don't have like 12 people, if you have more than 6 but less than 12, then that gets a bit uneven. So I don't remember that for sure. I still have the rules that because I printed them out and everything. But one thing in one of the playthroughs is that we were moving all the monsters every trader's turn, and it really should have been like we divided them up evenly. And so like one trader having control of this group of monsters or this number of monsters, and then or minions or whatever, and the other trader having control of this group. Because yeah, it became way unbalanced. I'm just gonna set these off to the side. None of the moss actually touches the bottom of the base, so that will be good. There's 3 of each size, so that was all 3 of this one, and this is definitely still wet. You can kind of see there's a little bit of glistening, which means with paint, it's wet. But it's got a very nice color. I think I'll actually leave it at just the one coat. I mean, you can, just because it kind of in a way works as a zenithal prime or highlight. So there's kind of pieces that are looking highlighted already. And I could actually just easily leave it at that. It looks pretty cool, but I will be doing some highlighting on it. I'm gonna use Reaper's Triad actually, so we'll get some mixes up with that after it's all base coated. But yeah, anyway, that's the closest I've gotten to, or the most experience I have with understanding how rules affect things. But it's a lot more complicated with a role-playing system than it would be with a tabletop game that has very set limits on what's going to be happening. So I don't feel particularly qualified to give input on such. If I see any areas, problem areas in their rules. It was exciting to see the email, even though I'm sure like lots of people probably got it. I'm sure it was just because I play tested it and filled out a survey during the open beta. Which I am excited for it. I liked it. I am one who really likes that narrative side of role playing. Um, I got to play what is now apparently now being called Draw Steel. Did another playtest of that with some of the more recent rules. It's the MCDM if you're not familiar, or if you hadn't heard that name change. And that one's interesting. I mean, they've got a different focus. Their focus is the combat and allowing you to really be able to focus on combat tactics and whatnot and working together as a team. Less on role playing and a narrative story. There still can be one, and there can still be role play. I mean, we definitely were role playing. Doesn't lend as well to it. I've always felt a little bit of like I just don't know much. Like it really helps me with when I'm doing one shots to have those specific things about the like what D&D has on the character sheet, the personality, like the bonds, ideals, and flaws. Um, but I mean, with Draw Steel, that's not the focal point. The focal point is to be able to have like really do heroic things. Worry about doing some cool stuff in combat. I do like some of the differences in the Draw Steel. I don't I don't hate it. That's for sure. It's fun. I've had fun every time. And I can tell they've made a lot of improvements to it over the last several months. I'm glad they've gotten a name for it and are moving away from having it tied so closely to Matt Colville. He can kind of rub some people wrong. So not the greatest thing to have him as someone like that as the face of a new role playing system. And I think they were planning on giving it an actual name anyway. I don't think it was meant to ever be always known as MCDM. I figured out what I'll be doing for my September video for Patreon. Gotta get this guy put together, but it's the Orcus Mini. Just open this first. It's the Orcus Mini from Next Level Miniatures. This actually has pretty good dry fit on it. Some of their other minis have not had very good dry fit. Still gotta clean it up, get rid of the flashings and get it glued together. I don't think there's really anything I might leave the wings off, probably. But I think I'll probably glue everything else together. But I'll be doing basically how I paint demon skin tone, how I tend to. So yeah, we'll go with, that's what I kind of decided. It's the next mini that I'll be painting to put up on eBay. And I did not feel like doing a video on moss. I also wanted to get that mini going, so that will knock out two things at once. I thought about working on prep tonight, but I decided, nah, I had already mentioned that I probably would be working on the moss for tonight's stream, so I felt more excited about sticking with that plan than pivoting to cleaning the Orcus Mini. He's basically a demon. I don't know if there is like a specific demon named Orcus or why they named it that. If that's pulling from something, I'm not aware. Okay. Prettier looking. It's like we're having some issues with the internet. Hopefully you are all able to see me well. Hopefully it's not dropping too much for you. I just noticed that we're up to 30% with dropped frames, and it seems to be getting worse. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna plug along, I guess, as long as y'all can still see me and hear me. Let me know if you can't. Otherwise, I'll just keep going since there's not a huge amount of time left. Oh yeah, I was talking earlier about scheming about what I can do with my big box, some one shops that I can use the big box of minis that I'll eventually get from the Bone 6 Kickstarter. And one of them I've actually been already kind of fleshing out. There we go. That's the word. Because one of the things, there's just a big old expansion that's basically undead, vampires, etc. Which I'm a fan. I'm probably the main reason that our D&D group is going through, or has been going through, Curse of Strahd. I'm the only one who had a strong opinion on what, or preference on what to do next after we finished our previous campaign. And that was one of my suggestions. At the time, my husband was interested in the Acquisitions Incorporated, and he had started making like a wagon thing. I think that was more to do with the fact that he had just gotten a table hot wire cutter, or it's to cut the foam and make terrain out of. But kind of quickly lost interest in doing that and using the table cutter thing, because we don't really have room for him to be making tons of different stuff. Maybe someday we can have a house that will have room for him to be doing that and making tons of stuff and room to store all that stuff that he makes. I think that was the only reason he was even remotely interested in the Acquisitions Incorporated, was because of the cool idea he had in mind for building a wagon that could be upgraded and stuff. Because I remember we watched the beginnings of the campaign, the live stream, just the it was like the recorded episodes, and it was weird. It was very weird. And neither of us were really all that interested in sticking with it and sticking around with the story. There's some spots that I just kind of got missed. I think Spelljammer was the other one that we were considering doing before jumping in with Curse of Strahd. I mean, the other option would be for him to homebrew another campaign, but at that point in time, he was getting a little burnout. So he definitely wasn't excited at all for that. He backed off of other things he was doing at the time too, because he was DMing for another group and also helping with one shots or DMing one shots at our church's annual weekend. think this is gonna work out. I'm kind of doing it more of a moss coloring. I think it'll still look pretty cool, whether it reads as moss or not. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop there for tonight. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm gonna be doing the September video for my Patreon pretty soon once I get the prep work done. So yeah, if you are interested in some more focused tutorials, be videos as well as PDFs, then head over to my Patreon and join there. There are there are options to do like a 1 week free trial of my top 2 tier, or not my top 2, my first 2 tiers. That'd be the lower 2 out of the 3. Just because my top tier includes a 25% discount, and that's not something I want to be giving a free trial. I want that to be the people who are committed to that tier getting that. So yeah, with the first tier, I think it's like $4 or $5. You get the PDF. The second tier is $9.99, and it gets you the PDF as well as the video and some social shout outs. I'll add your name to the videos, Patreon videos, and yeah. And then the top tier, I mentioned the discount. You'll also get to all the other things. I think there's some other perks and stuff for that. And if you go to my Patreon, which I'll put the social links in the chat really quick, you'll be able to see all of the details, all of the perks for supporting me. There's all my socials. So the Patreon is the very first link there in chat. And then also, if you're not able to see chat for some reason, it's also on the screen there. If you just add in what I have there into your URL, you should be able to find me. Anyway, so I will see y'all Monday afternoon at 1:15 p.m. Central, and probably will be continuing on with the moss. Actually, we'll start doing some layering and highlighting of this. We can get into the nitty gritty. So yeah, and again, I'll be using this triad of reapers. All right, well, have a good night and rest of your weekend. I hope you're able to get some painting in. And let's hope by the next stream, maybe I'll have had my shipping email from Reaper. That'd be awesome. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and hope you have a good weekend. Bye.